I'm making a video of beer I brewed. Very experimental, new technique for me. I was in a pinch. I needed a gift for my husband for Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day was 12 days away, and his favorite beer is a lager. The commercial version of it, it's a Negra Modelo. It's a Munich dark lager. But I had 12 days, and I couldn't lager in 12 days. So I did some research online and found Larry from Beer and Barbecue, and he did a lager in 11 days, some type of a pale lager, I believe, or Pilsner or something. But he did a lager, some beer that tasted clean and crisp like a lager in 11 days. So I wanted to do it in 12 days. So the first thing I did is go, I love this book, has a lot of clones of good commercial beers. So I went in there and found the recipe for Negra Modelo. But I needed to brew that day with whatever I had home. So taking their recipe as a guide, I went on and developed my own recipe with whatever I had home. So this is what I had. I had 9 pounds of Pilsner malt. I had 1 pound of aromatic Munich malt. I had 3 ounces of dark chocolate malt. I had 8 ounces of caramel 100. And I had 6 ounces of German dark Munich malt. I had 1 pack, only one, of S3470 and a spunding valve that I had ordered online, but I hadn't tested it in a beer. So I said, today is the day. So I'm gonna brew this beer with what I have at home and under pressure to see if I can get it in under 12 days. So the first thing I did is research a little bit how to work the spunding valve. And in my research, I found another post from Brew saying that you don't have to boil for a full hour. That if you have this vigorous boil, you can boil for less, that you can boil for 30 minutes. That malt is so advanced now that all flavors that would come from a short boil won't happen. So I said, you know what? Let me test a half an hour boil. Another post I found said that you don't have to mash for 90 minutes. A full hour. So I said, you know what? I don't want to mash for 90 minutes. And that's what the clone recipe required. I said, I'm going to mash for 60 minutes. And I'm going to mash at 152 to 154 for 60 minutes. Rulosophy says that the conversion happens in the beginning of the mash. So that if you have your pH right, your temperature right, your conversion will be efficient in the beginning of your mash. So I wanted to test that out too. So like I say, this is a very experimental beer. I'm fermenting under pressure with a boil that is 30 minutes and a mash that is only an hour. Let's see how it works. This beer is the experimental Valentine's gift. Let's see how it works out. So to review what I had at home, I had a couple of kegs that were empty. I haven't been brewing lately that much, so I was gonna ferment in the keg. It holds beautiful pressure, so it's perfect. I'm gonna use the spunding valve. 1 pack of yeast that I had, the 3470, and then my leftover malts. That some of them weren't that fresh. It was stuff that I had from beer that I had brewed last year. So I had a lot of little bits of stuff. I made sure I used German hops. For my bittering hops, I'm gonna use Hercules, and for my aroma hops, Tetang. To grind your grain, you make sure it's very, very small, the setting, because I brew in a bag. So I want my efficiency to be high. So grinding very fine won't give me a problem because I'm using that filter of the bag, and it's gonna up my efficiency. So I make sure I use the smallest setting to grind my grain. I prepare my strike water to about 162 degrees. It's cold for Miami, it's in the 60s, so my grain is a bit colder than normal. So it's gonna bring that temperature down, and hopefully I can have a temperature of 154. When I put my grain in, I make sure there's no dough balls. So I will make sure I break down all my mouth, because I want to make sure everything converts. So like I said, I'm doing a mash for 60 minutes, and I'm gonna keep it at 152 to 154 Fahrenheit. I saw this idea in Brewlosophy that you don't have to mash for a full 90 minutes. I am brewing alone, so to be able to remove my grains from the pot, I will drain out the wort, because I can't carry that wet bag out of my pot. So what I do is I drain it out into a bucket, remove the grain, and then put my wort back into the pot so I can set it to boil. As you can see, it drains out pretty fast, so I can remove that bag. With my grain spent already, I will dispose of it and return my wort to a boil. As soon as I reach the hard boil, I count my 30 minutes. Like in Brewlosophy, count your 30 minutes when you reach that boil. I did my first hops addition at 30 minutes. That's the Hercules for bittering, is 0.5 ounces of Hercules. Then with 10 minutes remaining, I did my aroma hops, is Tetang, 1 full ounce of Tetang. I did a clarifying tablet and some yeast nutrients right at flame out. Then I start my cooling process. I bought a cheap Walmart fountain pump, recirculating pump, and that is what I use to recirculate cold water into the coils of my chiller. I save the water that comes out hot. I use it to clean my pots after. So that's why I have a second pot. I bring water from outside from my garden in the hose. I put it in the cold water bucket, and the pump recirculates it. When I reach around 100 degrees of cooling, then I'm gonna add some ice into my recirculating water to bring it down to 70. You see, I freeze everything. I freeze containers, bags, whatever, so I can bring that water temperature down. There, you can see the beautiful color, and it's down to 70 degrees. Final gravity, original gravity after boil was 1062. Now I'm gonna transfer my wort into the keg. Make sure you aerate it when you transfer it. I use a silicone hose and just drop it from the top of the keg to splash into the bottom of the keg. Then I close it, set the spunding valve, and waited 24 hours for the natural fermentation to start creating pressure. By, I would say, 8 hours, I had enough pressure to set my spunding valve at 12 psi. The temperature in the house is about 68 to 70 degrees. So this fermentation is gonna happen at room temperature, under 12 psi of pressure. Hopefully it's gonna work out. After this beer ferments, I'm gonna clarify it with some gelatin and then just chill it. Let's see what happens. I've read that it should be naturally carbonated. I will make another video when I transfer this beer from the fermenting keg to a conditioning keg, and we'll see if it's carbonated, how it looks. We'll review it then.